Hey there guys, welcome to the first real life deployment video. We are going to learn here in this tutorial, and it's probably going to take us a couple of video tutorials to actually learn how to deploy applications in two hosting environments, in two Java hosting environments. So let's get started. In order for us to be able to, deploy an application, we should have an application ready, right? So we're going to use the authentication by form, the application that we created in the previous module or section. And as you guys should already know, we are using container managed security. So that means that we have a connection pool configured in the GlassFish admin or in the GlassFish server. We also have a JNDI, JDBC resource, and we have a JDBC realm created in there also. So that means that in order for us to deploy an application into a remote hosting provider, we need to be able to configure a GlassFish server. And we obviously need to keep in mind all of the specifications. That means that the environment in which we created our application. In this case, we know that we created it with GlassFish 4.1. The Java version is the JDK version is 1.8, and this is really important when we are deploying our applications, or else we're going to have a lot of problems deploying our files. So let's get started. We know that this is available for us, so let's go ahead and do a couple of things here. In order for us to be able to deploy our application in a remote environment, we need to make sure that we have the proper server configuration. So that means that our Sun resources, the one that contains the database information, how we are going to connect to the database and everything, this obviously is going to change depending on the, how do I say this? Depending on, well, let me explain it differently. This is going to change, and it's going to be according to our hosting URLs, basically. So let's get started. The first thing is that we need to go ahead and create an account in what's called Jelastic. If you guys haven't heard of it already, it's a great platform that actually allows us to try out some hosting providers, and you can do it in whichever country you guys reside in. I'm going to use it obviously in the country that I reside in, which is Colombia. So I'm going to have a server dedicated just for Colombia in this case, or stuff like that. So you guys go ahead and select the one that's closest to your country. We are going to have the same user interface, so don't worry about that. And for those who have reached this point, just go ahead and click on sign up, enter your information, and you will receive a email where you will have the username and the login password. So in my case, I already received it right here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I have entered into my account, and this is basically it. So just go ahead, and if you guys receive the message, for example, you just go to the dashboard right here, you click on it, you enter your password, your login and your password, and that's it. And you will be taken to this place right here. Let me just go ahead and pause for a second. I'm going to create a timer because I know this is going to take more time than the expected. Okay, so my timer is created now. So once we are in our cloud environment. We can see that we have a hello world package already for us and everything. What we need to do now is create an environment for us, and this is extremely important, so pay real attention. The first thing is that we can set our environment in order, well, depending on what language we are programming in, right? In this case, we're going to use Java, obviously. And we can select from several application servers. We're going to use GlassFish 4.1, obviously. You can see here that we have some vertical scaling per node. And this is basically how, if you guys have ever seen it, how Amazon Web Services works. We're going to have dynamic scaling of our application, and depending on the amount of resources being consumed, if it's, if it has too much overload, then it's going to scale to another node. And this is extremely useful because you actually pay for what you use. In our case, we're just going to use, the minimum. So let's just go ahead and reduce that. We're going to use Java 8. So we have to be really careful with that. And we're going to use a database, obviously, which is going to be MySQL 5.6. This is also going to be a simple one, so let's just go ahead and leave it like that. A build, actually, no, we're not going to use Maven for this particular case, but it's basically the same thing. Now, once we have this, you can see here at the bottom right corner, we can set our environment name, and this is how our URL is going to look. So in this case, since we're going to create an application that is going to be called authentication by form, let's just go ahead and name it that, auth by form. So you can see, let's just go ahead and click on create, but actually, let's go ahead and check here that everything is set properly. Always double check, because, or else you're gonna have a lot of time spent for nothing. So you see here that we're creating the environment, and it might take several minutes. So I'm going to pause the video here and come back as soon as the environment is created. You guys can go ahead and do the same thing. And well, hopefully you are developing this particular, scenarios as we go along, okay? All right, so finally our environment has been created. You can see that we have a GlassFish 4.1 node and the MySQL node also. Let's see, over here, if we actually open up this, you can see everything, all of the processes that have been taken care of. I usually just minimize it because it's really not that important anyways. So you can see here that we have a status, which just says that if it's being deployed right now or not. And obviously it isn't, because we need to have a lot of the things configured here. So if we go ahead and take a look at, let's see, for example, the MySQL node, we need to go ahead and open the location of it, and you can see that we are going to be redirected to the phpMyAdmin, and this is one of the reasons why I was so I emphasized a lot in having you guys work at least in the Java Server Faces from Scratch course. This is the reason why I wanted you guys to work with phpMyAdmin. This is the reason why I wanted you guys to download it using XAMPP control panel and everything. Now, in order for us to be able to access or to have the username and the password, it's going to be actually sent as an email. If we check here, you can see that the cartridge has been successfully created. The MySQL node has been successfully added. So if we click on the MySQL, we can see that we have a root password, or the root username and the password. So let's go ahead and do this right now. Enter this right here and copy paste. And give me just a second, guys. I'm going to close the window a little bit because there's a lot of noise right now in the streets. All right, so as you can see, we are set here. The only thing that we need to do now is actually to create our database here in order for us to be able to utilize it, right? So if we open up, you know, the admin area for MySQL, and obviously the Apache module must be turned on for this to work. So make sure that both of these are turned on. If we click on admin, we get redirected to the admin area. So if we go to ABF, which is the database that's created for this particular application, all we can do is just click on export, make sure that it's set to SQL, and click on go. And we're going to go ahead and, well, I already had it set, but let's just go ahead and replace it here. There we go. So we have downloaded the MySQL. Basically, we have exported all this information inside of the database. So once we go here to make sure that you're in the correct place, by the way, because you could get mixed up, we can go ahead and create a new database either through the through the admin console or through the SQL query directly. So let's just go ahead and create it from here, database, which is going to be called ABF. Control enter, and our database is going to be created. Now we can see that there's no information right now in the database. So we can do is click on the database, obviously, and we're going to click on import. Choose a file that we can use, and it's going to be called abf.sql, obviously. Just go ahead and scroll down and click on OK, or go actually, and you can see that the import has successfully been finished. Now if we take a look at the users, we can see that the information that was inside of the tables was also imported. All right, so this is really important because we don't really have to do anything else to our application. We just have to configure it there in the remote hosting, and that is it. So now that we have this information, let's just go ahead and start configuring that information in the GlassFish module. Okay, so let's go hover over the GlassFish and click on configuration. And we need to create a config file inside of the home directory. So we just click here on home, and you see that we have the enabled new file. Click on new file, and it's going to be called abf.config. Enter, click on enter. And I don't remember all the information that's needed. So what we can do is in the email that we received from the MySQL node, we can see that we have detailed instructions here. So let's just go ahead and click on that. And if you want to read this, this is really useful for you guys. But all the information we need actually is right here. Actually, you see, that's a great idea. This is why it was a great idea to check. I wrote it the way it wasn't. So you see it's CFG, not config completely. So that's screwed up. CFG. There you go. Now paste this, and whoa. No, that's not what I wanted. What the heck? Copy, paste, there we go. And we're going to grab from the / up until the other / which contains the database name. And inside of that, we're basically just going to copy this URL right here, okay? Up until the / obviously. And I'm going to show you in just a second why we did that. Go ahead and erase the database and the back brackets and just type in the database name, which was ABF. The user, we know that it's root. And the password was some sort of characters there. There we go. So just go ahead and click on save. If we took a look at the information here, we see that we have the node, your environment name, and the host or the hoster domain or whatever. And that basically just goes down to what we have in the email right here. Okay, so it's very easy for us to do it this way. Now, another thing that we need in order to configure the GlassFish information is the IP of this MySQL server. So we know that it's available for us in the node. If we click here in the configuration or additionally, and we see that we have that information right there. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing that we're going to do here is go ahead and click on the open in browser for the GlassFish. And you see that we're taken here, and this is the default index page whenever we don't have an application deployed and everything like that. And I'm going to show you in just a second how we can remove this index page so that our application is run automatically. Okay, just go ahead and click on go to administration console, and you see that we get another login form, and obviously because we do want our applications to be secure. So if we go to the cartridge email, we see that we have a login and a password. And the login is, like, I think 100% of the time is going to be admin, but the password is going to change. So, well, let's wait for this to load. And I'm going to place pause here because we are running out of time and we haven't been able to do this. Okay, so we are back here to the login page, and just go ahead and enter admin and paste the password. I'm going to place this in pause because it's taking way too much time. You know what, guys? While this login procedure redirects us to the admin console, I'm going to just leave it there, this video at least, because we have ran out of time anyways. And I will continue on the next video. Thank you guys very much for watching. See you on video part number 2.